Hello and welcome to another episode of Anime Explained. I'm Shangok, your host, and today we are going to talk about Mushoku Tensei and why this anime can be incredibly painful to watch and why it just hits harder than other anime and isekai. But before we dive into all of that, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as to say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. And with that said, let's dive into the topic at hand. Rudeus is an isekai protagonist, and just like all of the other isekai protagonists, well except for Subaru, he's quite overpowered, thanks to a lore reason which I won't explain here. He is an incredibly powerful caster and magic user, and of course, he also learned and trained extensively in order to become a better mage, and he also became a somewhat competent swordsman. However, unlike many other isekai protagonists, he's not content with all of this. He does not simply enjoy an easy life. In fact, his new life often resembles an old Greek tragedy. Eris, after ghosting him after his first time, left him a broken mess, with the words from her farewell letter about not being equals completely misunderstood. Over the past years, when the group was traveling home, Eris was more or less the weakest link in the group, with Rudy being the strongest caster and Rudyard excelling as the strongest melee fighter. And Rudy was also the more level-headed and strategically thinking character, whereas Eris was impulsive and temperamental. Additionally, remember how much fear Eris and Rudyard had when meeting Orsted, while Rudy could talk to him like he was shilling Raid Shadow Legends. While we knew that this is just because Orsted was cursed to be feared and hated by every living being in the world, and Rudy, being from another world, wasn't affected, Eris didn't know that. She saw Rudy as emotionally stronger than even Rudyard and far better than herself, and therefore she wanted to train to match his level, to be his equal. Rudy, however, was still a lonely and broken man in his heart, which is why even in his dreams, he still saw himself as his old, overweight self. Rudy, after reading this letter, felt that this was nothing but a severe rejection. Eris seemed to want nothing to do with him, leading Rudy to blame himself and fall into a deep depression. And prior to this point, nothing in this new world affected him as deeply as being ghosted by Eris. It was a massive emotional blow for him. And again, please consider what he even went through during his travel back home and during all of the other things that he had to deal with. And then came Sarah. Or rather, she didn't, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The anime hinted at this, but Sarah gradually fell in love with Rudy over the months that they traveled and fought together, eating, drinking, and fighting. Sarah didn't particularly like nobles, and Rudy's Greyrat family was responsible for protecting, or rather irresponsible for protecting the land from monsters. So initially, Sarah, due to losing her family due to monsters, held a lot of resentment towards Rudy. She at least initially perceived him to be just another arrogant noble who just wanted to go on adventures, while others didn't have the luxury of choosing to be an adventurer, but actually had no other choice but to fight for their livelihoods. But after seeing Rudy's humility and witnessing his fighting skills, as well as being saved by him eventually, they grew closer. Rudy didn't even notice this, given his lack of self-confidence after Eris' departure, and when his big night came, and he didn't, Sarah seemingly insulted him, calling him pathetic, after he failed to straighten his spear, and then he was completely shattered. Later, after being taken care of by the most unlikely person we could imagine, Soldat Heckler, and after leaving the red light district, still somewhat drunk, he spoke about how Sarah was unattractive anyway, in order to make himself feel better, But of course, Sarah had to hear all of this and slapped Rudy, and this last bit of humiliation had simply been too much. If not for Soldat Heckler's quick intervention, Rudy might have taken his own life then and there. He was utterly broken at this point. And this entire storyline is so heartbreaking and hits so close to home because it reflects real-life situations. Being transported from a magical mana catastrophe and teleported to a demon continent, fighting monsters or slaying dragons, might not resonate with our everyday experiences. At least it did not with mine. However, getting rejected by someone who you care deeply for is something that many of us can relate to. Mushoku Tensei capitalizes on these painful, real-world fears and emotions, making us empathize with Rudy. We can at the very least imagine ourselves in his shoes in these situations, facing the same struggles and the emotional turmoil that he did. Being thrusted not only into a fantasy world, but also into a world of psychological horror, where the emotions hit close to home, is what sets Mushoku Tensei apart from other isekai anime. That's why, in my opinion, it just hits harder. And now, with all of that said, it's your turn. What do you think about Rudy and his emotional downfall? Let me know down in the comment section. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Ada Daddy Ader, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord, Placidu Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Thiral Shivan, Guy with That Hat, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Love Razor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Okill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenukai, and Zonegon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.